one of the things that happens now is you see the new guys get a chance to be a head coach and first time opportunities and all that, and it don't work out very well for the most part. And it didn't work out for me either. I got bounced at the Jets after 1 year. I got bounced 3 years after being at New England. We were winning. We were 27-21 after 3. We went to the playoffs twice, and I still got fired. But I didn't have my act together. I didn't know what I was doing. I really didn't. And not until I sat out that year between New England and SC did I get my act in order so that I could have a philosophy. And my point is that for the new guys that try, they don't know what they're getting into. There's no way you can get ready for it. There's nothing that prepares you for it until you do it and you realize what you don't know and how much you don't know. And so the clubs and coaches, and they all struggle with the new guys coming on. I mean, David Canales really he'd been with me for 14 years. He had the language of an approach, whether it was him or not. He had an approach that he could stand by and at least govern the decisions and the choices and the confrontations and all that stuff. That's what the new guys, they don't know, and it's not their fault. It wasn't my fault either. I just didn't know. And so, it's to come back now, after redoing it a couple times, this doesn't seem hard now, man. This is freaking fun.
You 100 years old, goddammit.
It's just rolling it out, and watching it happen. It's really, really been special.
Well, to that point, Coach, you've done this a long time, man, right? You've had an opportunity to fail a few times and still be able to come back, win championships, all of those things. Now you're back in the league. I can assume you're sitting in rooms where maybe everybody doesn't have the wealth of experience as you do. You know what I'm saying? How do you govern that, though? Like, it's almost like you know some of the answers to the tests, right? But you also know shared experiences have to be gone through together, right? So everybody can learn and get to a point to where you are now. How do you govern that in the moments when you may feel you have an answer to a problem, but yet you do know that, you got to delegate so that people can learn what they can do on their own, so to speak. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's a really good question. There's a lot of depth to the thinking that goes into this because where in one regard, I want these guys to grow and learn from their own experiences, but yet I ain't got time to wait for them either, And so I have to find the way to communicate with them in a way that continues to support them and build them up, but yet make sure that they stay within guidelines that can keep us in a philosophical vein and stay on track and on course. And so, like with Chip Kelly, man, this guy's been around, he's coached all over the place. He's been a head coach a number of times. He's been highly successful and all. And he's got an incredible brain, and his office is right next to mine for a reason. We need to be sharing our experiences as we go through this. But what I'm really doing is I'm supporting them in every way that I can, but yet I'm also, I'm feeding them, the little gems that, to keep them in touch with what we stand for and how we operate. And it's not the same as he's done it, so, but he's been marvelous about it. He's been really open and easy to communicate with and all that. Patrick Graham, on the other side of it, Patrick is a younger coach, but he's been a coordinator for 6 years in the league. He's been through a lot he's from the Belichick upbringing, and so we come, a widespread of difference in our way of looking at things and treating people and all that. And so that's been a little bit different, that relationship. So, and then it feeds right on down through the coaches. What I have to do is do a freaking awesome job of just kicking ass in every step of the way and everything, so that we can stay on course and keep getting positive and all, and doing the right things to build. Like we had 3 phase 3s this past week, and on the last day of the week, we had a competition between offensive and defensive coordinators. We had a scrimmage in essence, where they had to call defenses and offenses against themselves, and so I got to see, what's happened in this first couple months we've been together, kind of how it first shows itself. And, of course, when I mentioned to the team in the meeting that we're going to, hey, we're going to have a first OCDC competition. Of course, they start, shootout, so I got Chip Kelly shooting against Patrick Graham, up in front of the meeting, and it just added, led to a really good day. But my point is that this is it's a race. It's a race to get everything together and to get really clean and sharp. And you got to get really good at something before you can get good at 2 things, and so we just have to keep battling. And I have to keep quality control of that throughout the process. And I don't, I miss stuff. I don't do it as well as I want to, but I've got to be totally active and interactive with everybody to give us our best shot, to do it the way I picture it and dream it to be, And so it's really, really fun. It's fun as hell, because this is as much fun as you can have in coaching, putting it together like this. And so fortunately, the guys are doing great, and they're putting up with me, and I'm driving them crazy. And, I've been going, man. I've been going. I was bleeding on the practice field on
See, because you do too much sometimes.
I don't know what happened. I hooked somebody or something,
you be doing too much, coach. You know what I'm saying? You got to calm down, man. You're in your 70s, bro. Relax.
No, I don't. I'm not in anything. I'm not in
anything. Coach Paterno told me the worst invention was the calendar. You know what I'm saying? He told me that before he passed away back in the day. But here's my question, man. Because I remember when I first got to Seattle, I remember sitting in your office with John, and you guys sat me and actually Leon Washington down at the same time and was like, yo, this is how we want this team built. These are our core principles. We're going to need guys like yourself to be saying the same type of stuff in the locker room as well.
Yep.
You've been a lot of different places. Like, the Raiders ain't like the Raiders been to a lot of championships as of late. You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you...
They sure have.
How do you come in and completely change your culture? Because, and I've said this to him before, he ain't gonna be upset. Well, he might. I don't know. In the past, I've looked at Raiders like that's been the graveyard for careers. You know what I mean? Because it hadn't been a lot of winning. Sorry, Beast. I love you, bro. Not you, but I love you. So my thing is like, how you do it, man? Because that's tough, bro.
Well, I'll tell you, the first thing we did in the very first meeting is I said, okay, you guys have a perspective on, how times have been here and kind of how you see things. And I bet most of you are sitting in the exact same seat you were sitting in when you left. I said, get up and change your freaking seat. Let's go. Everybody take a new look at this thing. So everybody had to get up out of their seats and sit in a new place. And if I did that when Marshawn was there, he wouldn't have moved. No. Okay, he'd have sat in the same seat. No. Yeah, he'd have stepped over, then he'd have sat back in the same seat. But I'm watching. I was watching, I want to see who changes seats and who doesn't. I want to know. And but the point is that we just had to leave everything in the past. It's no different than going from a one year to the next, from a championship season or a struggling season to the next one. How are you going to do it? You're going to drag all that with you, or are you going to go on? Yeah. And so the whole point is to start new and start fresh and give them a new outlook and really be willing to be different at everything. We painted the hallways and the building and some of the meeting rooms and stuff like that, just to change the colors. There was so much black in the hallways. It was like you're in a freaking cave, And so we lightened it up a little bit so we get a little bit more silver in there. But the point is just, they never hear me talk about anything in the past of whatever. I don't give about that. Doesn't mean nothing, And that's a philosophy. It's the next step you take that counts. It's the one that the very next thing you do. What's next, Yeah. And so, this is like a no-brainer for me. You know what I mean? This is easy for me to confront this challenge because we start over every time, And so that's what we're doing now. And so, we're balling now. Practice is going,
I hear, man.
If you guys remember, I used to get in trouble. I used to get in trouble a little bit, how we practiced, back in the day.
Yeah, I remember some of that. So, getting practices.
He didn't practice that much,
practice took away.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all was hitting too hard. We got two practices.
Pete, you remember that morning I was on the phone with the PA trying to argue? Well, we weren't tackling, guys. We guys were just competing. You know what I'm saying? Then they took a whole week of our practices away.
I remember that shit.
Yeah, I know. Hey, you guys haven't brought it up yet, and maybe it's not time yet. But how about Dylan McCullough being on the staff here?
Oh, yeah, running back,
Sherm's son.
Yep.
Sherm's son, because you guys, nobody knows Sherm better than you guys back in the day, and all that. But to have this connection with Sherm, and Sherm lives through D now. There's the words, the looks, the glances.
The goddamn look.